So basically, what we do is we come with like we're doing now actually at the moment, that's why I'm here. We come with a bunch of friends, do this trip to the US to drive on racetracks here in the US. Now we are here in Georgia, so doing Road Atlanta Motorsports Park, gonna go to Roebling. But we're also gonna do maybe like California tracks as well in the future. The reason we are doing this is because we kind of get sick of European tracks. And in the winter, nothing is open in Europe. We have absolutely no racetracks open, apart from a few in Spain, south of Spain. But they are very expensive, because it's like a monopoly. There's like 5 or 6 racetracks, and it tends to get pretty expensive if you want to go there, and they're very limited as well. I was thinking about this a few years ago, and I said, hey, maybe I can get on track in the US, because everybody knows Road Atlanta. From IMSA, Petit Le Mans. Everybody knows, for example, tracks like Thunderhill in California. They know this. Sebring in Florida. And then I ended up talking with James from Jzilla, actually. And I said, hey, James, you're always coming with a group to the Nürburgring. Can we come with a group to the US and maybe drive US track days? And he said, hey, sure, bring your friends. We're going to have a great time. The reason that we do that is because track days in Europe, in general, they changed a lot over the past couple of years. So track days, as you know them probably more like in the US, can be a guy in a spec Miata, could be a guy with his shed-built, home-built, whatever car, and everybody can turn up with a GT3 RS as well. And it's all mixed, it's all beautiful, and you have these mixed groups even, because you have usually these HPDs where you have beginners in fast cars and slow cars, and up to like red groups where everybody drives whatever car very fast. And everybody's very friendly to each other. It's like a community thing, right? Usually these track day organizations in the US, it's an organization. It's like a group of people, they all know each other, or they get to know each other at least at some point. That's gone in Europe. That doesn't exist anymore. Most of the big track days in Europe, like track days on the Nürburgring, track days at Spa, Zandvoort, all these tracks, is now what I like to call the posh man's club. So it went from about, when I started doing them 25 odd years ago, it was the same as it is now in the US still. Everybody knew each other, everybody was very friendly with each other, and everybody was simply doing their own thing a little bit. But then we saw in the last 10 years that it evolved to, I need a faster car because I'm too slow to keep up with the Miatas. So people started to buy faster cars. Whereas in the past, people were more motivated and more knowledgeable to build something themselves or to really learn how to drive properly. And that's gone now. Because now everybody simply buys the cheat code, a GT3 RS. Especially with the 992s being an actual cheat code. This is something that really changed in Europe over the past, I'm going to say 10 years. And it only got worse and worse. We were talking about this with our group a few days ago when we were actually here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. And you could see all these different cars and they're all driving fast. They know how to drive. In Europe, you won't see that anymore. Everybody drives fast because the car is pretty quick. But the level of driving, that went downhill a little bit. So it's like on the Nürburgring, you have these different types of driving. You have tourist drives, which is open for public and everybody can come and do it. And there you also see still like people with normal cars driving pretty quick. But even there, most of the people who do tourist drive consistently, they all have track-built M4s, Porsche GT3s or RSs. Nothing exotic, obviously, but these fast track cars. But that's it. You don't see the guy popping up with his Miata and just doing fast laps. It's becoming less and less. And that's a really sad thing because it ruins the car culture. When I was a kid, starting to do track days or track driving, the car culture was a big thing, especially like in Belgium where I grew up and also in Germany. So not only would we do track days, but there was car meets. Back in the days, Fast and Furious was a big thing as well, early 2000s. It all was connected a little bit. And it was more like a hobby to everybody, cars. And that's gone in Europe. Yeah, car meetings, all gone, not allowed, can't do them anymore. They all get forbidden. This was only, 2 years ago, where one of the biggest Volkswagen car meets in the world, Wörthersee in Austria, got forbidden, not allowed anymore by government. So we see this in Germany today still, where the tuning scene in Germany, for example, or the car scene in Germany, is not allowed to do any meets anymore. Car meets is simply something that is frowned upon these days. So now people, they come to the Nürburgring and do their meetings there, which is sad because now all cars you see at a car meet is a GT3 RS. So it ruins the whole culture of actual cars because everybody wants to get into this, I want to be the fastest guy on track and I'm going to buy a GT3 RS because that's the cheat code. So this is a little bit the sad part about the car culture in Europe. Whereas in the US, in my opinion at least, it still exists. You still can go to a Cars and Coffee, talk to people who just rebuilt their 1960s, whatever American car, or even their 1996 Miata. And everybody talks to each other about the cars. It's not interesting what they do for a living. It doesn't matter how much money they have in their account. There is still cars. That's the general topic. And that's fully gone in Europe. Now it's all, what are you doing for a living? And how fast are you? And that's where it ends. I think the reason why Germany's anti-car meets, not in particular anti-car, but car meets, is obviously we want to be as green as possible. That's number one. So we have really crazy noise emissions, for example. Germany is actually one of the very few countries in Europe where you can still modify cars up until 2026. Because from next year onwards, it's done. You cannot modify any new cars anymore. So that's another reason. The governments in Europe are really not allowing people to modify their cars easily. So we have a thing called TÜV or TÜV in German, which you guys in the US don't have at all. It doesn't exist here, which is fantastic, because I think Georgia it ends up with emissions, I think. Florida has absolutely nothing, not even emissions. So think of Germany like California, but next level California. Belgium, the same thing. Next level California even. The Netherlands, you can still modify, do whatever you want, but it's all gray areas. So that's why the car culture disappears as well. Because back in the day when you would modify your cars in a cool way, I'm not talking about Fast and Furious bumpers, which was cool obviously in the early 2000s, but not anymore today, I assume. Those people also moved on from fiddling around with their cars, and they all ended up buying simply a supercar or a hypercar or whatever, if they would have the financial ways to do it. But those are not car people anymore. Even the car collectors in Europe, they're very quiet about it. They don't want to stand out anymore. They're not driving to cool car meets or anything. They just don't do it anymore because the police is harassing you in Germany, for example. There is a big thing in Hamburg. Hamburg is known for the car city in Germany, actually, which is weird because there is no car manufacturers in Hamburg. But a lot of people in Hamburg, they want to buy like cool cars. And with cool cars, I really mean, again, sports cars, supercars, whatever. Factory cool cars. And even with a stock GT3 RS, you will get pulled over every single day because it is too loud. It's like city noise emissions. They don't want to have it anymore. So, and that's really sad. Theft in Europe, big thing still today. What they do is they try, it's usually like organized crime. They try to steal cars, or they do steal cars, and usually it's insurance fraud things. And they sell the cars for parts, obviously. What the most common theft in Europe these days still is insurance scams. That's it. So cars really being stolen as you think of a car theft, it doesn't happen so much because you can't get away with it anymore. The cars have trackers these days. You know, if you buy a new GT3 RS, you just need to call Porsche, you go into your app and you know where the car is. So the full car, you don't get away with it anymore. I think it's the same in the US actually. So this happens. We had the thing with the headlights actually. We had the Porsche headlight drama where the headlights are so expensive on a Porsche. They're like, what, three grand, I think, for one headlight. We had a time where people were parking up their Porsches and came back and their headlights were stolen. Happens. Because one, it's easy to steal a headlight on a Porsche. It's really easy, actually. Especially on the 9 and 1.2s, I think it was. Really easy. But that's the thing, yeah, part stealing from cars, sure. Yeah. When you talk to somebody in America about the Autobahn, everybody thinks that we're all driving like 300 kilometers an hour, right? That's not true. You can still do it, and you're legally allowed to drive as fast as you want, but within limits. So there is no speed limit, but it needs to be done safely. Most people in Germany don't drive 200 or 250 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn. If you see a car driving 250 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn, it's usually a tourist. They do that. Yeah. We stop at 220. That's enough.
If you get a ticket, the first thing you should do is text a picture of it to 305-305. That will get the ticket clinic on your case immediately. You'll be facing costly fines, risks of suspension, possible jail time, points on your license, higher insurance premiums, and a lot of bad things that they can help you to avoid. You can also find them at the link in the description below, but the Ticket Clinic is a nationwide law firm with brick and mortar offices in Georgia, Florida, and California, but they've got attorneys everywhere, and that's what's most important, because a local attorney will know exactly how the local laws work, know the people who are in charge, and get you the best outcome possible. So text a picture of your ticket to 305-305 or click the link in the description below to fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.